I can't vote on either.
I wonder why they wouldn't come up with an answer for asking for the right to buy. I guess it's states.
Okay. Good deal. All right, it is 6 o'clock. Whatever you want to do. Are you recording, Alicia? Very good. All right, so it's 6 o'clock. I'll order this meeting of the Paradise City Council. Can I get a roll call, please?
John Ward, present.
Amanda Black here.
Cody Cook here.
Paul Fox here.
Cody Anderson here.
We do have a quorum. Let's all stand for the pledges and invocation, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to these Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Coach, would you lead us in the word of prayer, please?
Thank you. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of this new day. Guide us in every thought, word, and action. Help us to be present today, to love well, and to trust in you fully. Give us peace in uncertainty and strength for whatever we face. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you. Everyone be seated. Mr. Williford.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have up on the screen some important dates for the upcoming weeks. On Monday, City Hall will be closed for Labor Day. We have the Paradise ISD Homecoming Parade on the 15th of September. I had a placeholder there for a special council meeting for the budget and tax rate approval. We decided, I've just been informed, that will take place at 6 p.m. on the 15th of September. So there will be a special council meeting on September 15th at 6 p.m. There will be a public notice posted and an agenda posted for that meeting, the same as there is for every council meeting. The next regular council meeting is on the 22nd. Shortly after that, we have the 19th Annual Main Street Festival, which we're all very excited about. Columbus Day coming up, and that about rounds it out. Getting into our election dates here. So today was the last day for a candidate to withdraw from the ballot. So if a candidate had filed a packet to run as an elected official, they could have withdrawn their packet and stayed off the ballot until close of business today. That time has passed. So everyone who has applied for to run in this upcoming November election will be on the ballot. Later on today, during this meeting, the city secretary and I will draw the names for placement on the ballot. We'll conduct the ballot draw. Early voting begins on October 20th, on to Election Day, and we will see how the election turns out. Any questions on significant dates or election dates?
Continue.
So the way that this is formatted for the benefit of the crowd, we have a section of briefs where we pass information to the council and to the people who are here in attendance. After that, there will be a period of citizen communications where people who have any concerns can stand up and address the council. After that, we'll go to our consent agenda, which are items that are run-of-the-mill administrative items that can be approved without discussion. And then we'll move on to the deliberation items, where the council will actually discuss what to do with the items on the agenda. There are 2 items on the discussion agenda today. They're both rezoning cases. One for the request made by Mr. Turner for the sand plant. The other one as regards Windmill Ridge. I'm sure that those 2 items are the reason that most of y'all are here. I encourage y'all to be patient. You will have time to talk, and there will be plenty of discussion before anything is voted upon. I have 4 items during the section today. The first item is a community workshop for what we're tentatively calling the Safe to School Path Plan. The one after that, the city secretary and I will come forward and do the ballot draw for the November election. After that, I have a brief for the municipal water and wastewater. The city engineer is also here and will be presenting information on our plans and current projects for water and wastewater. And then there will be a quick review of the zone change requests that I mentioned earlier. So, the city has set aside a decent little bit of money, about $60,000 drafted in the current budget for sidewalk/path improvements in fiscal year 26. The city has been receiving emails from people in the community who say, hey, school has started, and I would like to see a safe path to school for my kids who walk to school. And the city has wanted for a while to provide these sorts of infrastructure. And so the budget has been set aside about $60,000 to build sidewalks in Paradise. But sidewalks are pretty expensive because they have to be built according to the building code. And they have to be built compliant with ADA, that's American with Disabilities Act regulations. And so they can be pretty expensive. They can rise as high as $55 per linear foot. And so $60,000 gets burned up pretty quick when you're spending $55 a foot on sidewalk. And so in order to have a way forward on this kind of project, we're only going to be able to do a certain amount of sidewalk at a time. The mayor and I had a discussion this past week, and we thought it might be a good idea to get the community's input on where we might first like to see these sidewalk projects go. And so what I have done, put these on the floor briefly. I have printed out, Mike did me the favor, thank you, and printed out these large maps of the city of Paradise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set one map on this end of the table. I'm going to set one map here, make the city secretary move all their stuff. And I'm going to set aside 15 minutes for everyone in the audience to come on up, stand around the map. I've got highlighters and pens for you, and mark up where you would like to see sidewalks in the community. And at the end of this, I think the question that we will want to ask is, if you had to pick one stretch of sidewalk first, which one would it be? Does that make sense to everyone in the crowd? All right. So I'm going to set one map here and one map here. Mayor?
Yeah, this is just a way for us to get some feedback. We knew we were going to have a crowd. We were taking advantage of the fact that you're here. And you can provide us with some input. You may say, we don't want sidewalks, or you may say, no, we see a lot of people out walking and have heard that they would rather have, safer paths to walk on, or maybe you just want a trail through town that is multi-purpose and people can just walk through. If you have any input whatsoever and want to see a certain area in town with the path, this is where we would like you to come up and, show us what your thoughts are.
And so, with that, the current time is 6:09. Let's keep going until 6:25, okay?
if that's good with y'all, if anybody wants to come out and take a look at the maps and start doing anything. Or we'll just stare at each other.
No, please, come on up. Where would you put it?
Oh. Where would I put it?
And the engineers.
I would be, I got ideas.
You got ideas?
Oh. We're in trouble. Got all the ideas. Good to see you.
Alright.
Yeah, this, I think
Highlighting, I guess, what we currently have.
Well, we have some here, we do, and then we had an easement that was provided by the developer.
Dinner before. You guys start doing dinner.
There's the start of the road. How you like that? Other side of our street.
Yeah, we started at 5 o'clock, I'm like, I know. And then I bet. People get angry.
And then you can extend it all the way down.
What did you call it, say? See this right here? By the way, it's not allowed our children to use.
We're gonna replace these
See those cells?
He said, let's throw one here, and it wraps like this. Here we go.
See, and they only let him come out back here.
What's ridiculous? That's good. Right here, you can't walk from here across this. You need a path through here. You know what? That's it.
On the property.
Yeah, we're just.
Where that road was.
So good.
I put my input in. Please put your input. Let's throw some out here. Oh, no.
That one here, this is the bulk of your
Start building one.
new residential. I don't know what
Goes
percent.
out the town, maybe goes to Park.
This would be cool. This connector here, like that.
And all the way down through there. All the way down to.
Well, I've seen like
Right here. Yeah, throw one in.
others, strollers. Safe walking, but that's not free. We're coming. Yeah.
I had really thankful to figure out this.
What's the life of that like?
Well,
You know, Jimmy.
like, across
It
the
would be
road
cool.
from our house.
To have them all through here, but I mean, I think that's a start. Just getting this.
She was mentioning, and it goes all the way around through town.
This is just a plan. You always, you gotta have a plan, and then you just pick off bits and pieces of it. You can't do it all, you gotta do a little.
You want one right there, for sure.
I think that is probably the best one.
That would take, I mean, we would have to have
I don't really
safe, safe crossing.
We gave them a crosswalk right here.
And I would go all the way.
Oh, all the way to here. That'd be great. We can have crossing guards.
Do you see all of this? You go very fast, except for right there. It
So.
says you're constantly.
How to
stop
it here.
So,
Two cars.
yes, in fact, there's a truck that sits here at the stop sign. I'll just break it and let it go.
Coming down my way, right?
No, towards my way.
It was, I think.
And I've
Yeah, you
thought
can see
about
those both
this.
ways. Yeah, she doesn't discriminate.
Real level enough.
They'll be slighted.
So this one was a high priority.
Schoolhouse there?
Yeah, because anybody
No,
over
there's
here,
no road.
there's no way to get.
There's no road there.
Yeah, there's nothing there. So it would just be put in a walk, keeping that whole, put in a walking path that you.
Have you seen that dress field?
Yeah.
Coming from y'all's house.
And it's only 300 feet, which fits into that.
Each one of these notches is 300.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
did you, you could have
That's
just
a little
told
bit
me
more than
frame.
300
I
feet.
could have said frame.
So that's a good 3 years.
But if we poured, attention, what is that?
So it's 300 foot
About
per
12
notch.
inches. 1, 2,
Could we
3,
not do
4,
just more like
5,
a rock walkway?
260.
I don't. More or less.
Can I make some notes?
Sorry?
Can I make notes?
You can make notes, you can do this one, feel free.
You want a pen instead of a permanent marker? Right, as opposed, yeah, as opposed to, more like a nature path. Yeah, a trail,
$88.
right.
And it would be an issue though, because it's like a.
And conveniently, there is a pond, right?
Well, that's where it used to go. Most of it now is being funneled out in between those lots. We were trying to keep it on that property. If I remember right, Chuck and Mark kicked it over so they could water their cows.
Yeah.
So high priority. Alright?
How many kids from that home?
I would, with you with all the neighborhoods.
Oh, where his wrist is.
Yeah.
That's the main part of it. I mean, you've got some up in here. Or, like I said, there's supposed to be a pathway, there's one that's our entrance and easement.
It's not enough.
So that would be another way.
Well, they have these programs that like give you money to build them too. But you gotta have a plan. It's gotta be
My
able to
house.
cost us.
It is. I would never let them walk to school.
Anderson, is it free money?
State routes to school. Texas. Gotta come up with a plan.
Don't worry about the cost right now.
I gave some activity and
Look
priority.
at that, there's not,
Cost us.
so much more narrow, like for my way, but we could have a school alleyway here.
School.
Goes all the way
We'd have to get an easement from them.
keep that maintained, cut back, go down, walk down.
So that would be the school.
Like a walking path.
The high school.
Overgrown alleyway.
So you need an easement for that one. This one you got right of way. That one you got right of way. There's an easement there.
Highly
Obviously, any that's
traffic.
right of way.
Here you would have right away too.
So is this.
Yeah, so is that.
You don't really have a good option.
Those are the hardest roads.
Goes
I think you need more,
Yeah, right, yeah.
right away, but you can put a walk path down the street.
So it makes it a little easier. Probably need a 15 to 20.
Yeah, it'll block that whole road.
There you go. Something.
Crosswalk, yeah.
So that map over there has, let's see what they marked up over there. We talked about, let me show you some of this, so. This is the priority one, this month.
They are gonna question it.
We've got
I think it's conflict of interest I'm talking about, so I guess.
school property. No easement required, no easement, no right away. This is down here.
Might need to get clarification on that.
I would think.
You just never know sometimes. Yeah, that was one that was done by the guy.
Yeah. Alley.
How long are we doing this for?
25.
Yeah, she's asking. She was telling me about microphones that can pick up everything and stuff.
Yeah. You wanna ask him?
Over there, what I was saying, this is the high priority one. These three.
Yeah.
School property. We could work through the alley, we have the right to do that, and down here in the right of way. Do that in this one. Waffle House. Over here.
Oh, my place is right here. No, that's not my place.
This is. Okay, alright. I wanna tell where it's going. This is, Truck straight the road out. I've never seen that. Well, we were trying to do some of that over here with the property in the school lot rather than the city lot.
Cash control, electric provider. Once you got there, I want to use now. We're remembering you until the time comes.
Oh, no, right, you're learning.
Coming up old and passing it out.
Get your money.
It's your place, it's in back here. Dedication right away. And then we're going to land this property where
Couple more minutes, Mike. Three more minutes.
Terry just retired in May.
I have a quick question for the group. Judy is here. She works for Get Pugnacious, which is a social media company. She's here taking pictures for the council. She hasn't taken any pictures of the crowd yet because she doesn't want to put anyone in any pictures they don't want to be in. And so we just wanted to ask, would it be okay is there anyone who would object to having the picture taken here?
We're good? Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make sure.
I'm already on a board.
He's done a lot of good so far.
Sure.
Pictures and
Is that we're helping?
stuff out there.
Alright. Somebody else. Thank you.
All right, looks like everybody's played with their markers and we're gonna wrap that up
Yeah.
and move on to our next item, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to the next item. So, the order that names appear on the ballot is important because individual voters, they show up and they don't necessarily know who people are, and they look at the names on the ballot, and sometimes they make a choice based on just who's first. And so, in order to make it fair for everybody, what the Texas Local Government Code requires us to do is decide at random which names are going to be in which order on the ballot. And so there's a very scientific method of making sure that happens. We put the names in a bowl and we draw them out, and the order in which we draw them is the order in which they will appear on the ballot. And so I'm going to hold the Tupperware. We have 2 people registered to run on the ballot for the position of mayor. This is the mayor ballot draw. So the first person on the ballot will be
Ashley, I don't want to, I say I don't want to butcher your last name.
Okay.
Okay.
The city secretary is recording the names. She's going to report the names to the Wise County Elections Office, and they will generate the ballots.
Amanda Black.
The other positions open for election in November are Council Place 4 and Council Place 5. We only have one person signed up for each of those positions, and so it looks silly that we're drawing a name with only one name to draw from,
By golly, we're gonna do it.
but it's required of us.
I shouldn't fold them so tight. John Ward.
Okay.
That's for place 5. Okay. Place 4. Get it open.
Who's it gonna be?
Do it.
Very good.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on, what do we got next?
Next, I have a brief for the council about a very basic overview of municipal water and wastewater. I'm going to talk for a few minutes, and then I'm going to turn the discussion over to the city engineer, and he's going to give you a quick update on our current projects and some things we have in the works. So I know the mayor is sick of hearing it, but it's worth saying again and again and again. There are 4 core services that a city has to provide in order to be a real city. There are water, wastewater, streets, and emergency services. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about water and wastewater. What you're seeing there on the right is a picture of the Walnut Creek Special Utility District water treatment plant that's located right next to Runaway Bay, right off of Lake Bridgeport. That is where our clean water comes from. When it comes to municipal water, there are several steps before it hits the tap. When a resident goes and turns on the knob and the fresh water comes out, there are a bunch of steps that the water had to go through to get to that point. It had to come from a source, it had to be treated, it had to be purchased and sold, it had to be stored, and it had to be taken to the home. And so in Wise County, there are 2 large reservoirs. The first one is Lake Bridgeport, up there by Bridgeport. The second one is Eagle Mountain Pass, Eagle Mountain Reservoir, which is right down there south of Rome and Newark. And so we have Lake Bridgeport here, and Eagle Mountain Reservoir right here. Both of those are man-made lakes, and they hold a lot of water, and they're in Wise County and Parker County. But most of the people in Wise County don't have very much access to those lakes. Those lakes were built by the Tarrant Regional Water Authority. Tarrant Regional, whose primary customer is Fort Worth, funded those lakes, and so they have first dibs on the water that comes out of them. And so although we are very close to a large amount of water, very little of it is actually allocated for our own use. Historically, the people in Wise County have subsisted on wells. But as more and more people move into Tarrant County and Wise County and Parker County, and more people stick holes in the ground and start pulling that water out, less and less water is available out of the aquifer. And there have been some pretty alarming studies done that indicate that the aquifer is really going to be alarmingly depleted in the next few decades. And so a lot of thought is going on at the state and the regional level to try to determine what cities can do to make sure that we don't run out of water. It'll be a real crisis if ever we get to the point where the oldest, shallowest wells run dry, or somebody goes to the tap and turns the knob and nothing can come out, or only dirty water can come out. We buy our water from Walnut Creek Special Utility District, and so there are various utility districts. So Tarrant Regional is a big one that services Fort Worth. It's wealthy enough that it can build lakes. It's massive. We buy our water from a group called Walnut Creek SUD, Walnut Creek Special Utility District. They are pretty big, not nearly as big as Tarrant Regional. But as you can see with this map here, they have a pipeline that draws right off the south end of Lake Bridgeport, right at Runaway Bay. That red cluster right at the very top of the map is that picture I showed you of their water treatment plant. And they have a system of water mains that goes all the way through South Wise County into North Parker County to distribute the water that they are able to purchase out of Lake Bridgeport. And so Walnut Creek SUD is our water wholesaler. They sell water wholesale. We purchase our water from Walnut Creek SUD and then turn it around to the customers within the city as we're retailers. So the Special Utility District is the wholesaler. We're the retailers. The water is transported, is sucked out at an intake point that's in Lake Bridgeport. It's treated at the plant. It's pressurized and pumped through this network of pipes to all the points of delivery of all the different cities that are served by Walnut Creek. That water flows through the large mains all over the county, and it comes to Paradise. And our point of intake is at the water tower. And we store water at the water tower. So the water comes from Walnut Creek. We purchase it, and we put it in the tank. And then when a resident turns on their knob, the pressure flows the water through the pipes. It goes through their meter, so we know how much water they're using. It comes out of the tank, through the pipe, into their sink. The way that cities do this, it's not realistic to expect that all water be free-flowing. There has to be water kept stored in a tank, prepared for when someone turns on the water spigot. And so cities have a series of holding containers to hold the water in readiness, in preparation, for when it's time to actually serve the customers. The way that we do that in Paradise is we have our elevated storage tank. It's a water tower. We have a water tower. It contains 150,000 gallons of water, up to 150,000 gallons of water that we hold. And so we lift it up off the ground. Because it's so high off the ground, the gravity pushes down on the water. That pressurizes the pipes. When the person turns on the water faucet, the gravity all the way up at the water tower pushes the water through the pipes, and they get their water. 150,000 gallons is not a huge amount of storage. We are contracted with Walnut Creek Special Utility District to receive 300 gallons per minute of water. And so there's a pump at the base of that water tower that pumps water into the tank at a rate of 300 gallons per minute. And you can imagine it sort of like your toilet tank where there's a floater, and once the floater hits a certain height, the water turns off and it's kept inside the water tower. That's extremely oversimplified, and Mike's probably wanting to smack me. But that's what it does. And so through the day, people are using water. They're taking baths, they're taking showers, they're cooking, they're running the dishwasher, they're watering their lawn. Through the day, the amount of water inside the tank falls and falls and falls and falls because it's getting used faster than 300 gallons per minute. And then night comes and people go to sleep, and then the water tower gets refilled and it's ready for the next day. It's better to have more storage. And so if you only have one point of water storage, you only have one point of failure. And so if something catastrophic happens and the water tower goes offline, if you only have one, then everyone loses their water. And so the city has known this for a long time, and for a long time has had plans to have more than one storage tank. That way, if a pump fails or some sort of random accident happens, or if there's a fire that depletes one tank, there's a backup tank available to pump water back up into the water tower and keep the water going for the community. What you're looking at right now is the city's current projected plan to build more storage tanks for water. And so what you're looking at right now is this is Cedar Bend. Tulip Street, you can't see it, but it's running east-west right up north of this property here, and then another few feet above, is where our current water tower is. Currently, we are deliberating whether or not to go ahead and build this 250,000 gallon tank. This would go a long way towards easing the storage challenges that we have with our 150,000 gallon elevated storage tank. So phase one that's in deliberations right now would be to go ahead and build this 250,000 gallon tank. Some years down the line, eventually, the city would start looking at building some 500,000 gallon tanks. They cost money, but having that water storage on hand for citizen safety, for redundancy, and for backup capabilities is just an important thing to have. Now, all of that is water, all that's great. We have wastewater, which is also a core responsibility of a city to provide. We currently don't have any sewer services in Paradise. Every single building in Paradise is on septic, except for those few buildings that are serviced by the school's wastewater plant. So Paradise ISD has a very small package plant. It's old, it's maxed out. There's absolutely no capacity left on it to add anything on it. It is working at full capacity right now. And so because we don't have sewer, it's difficult to have things like a restaurant because it's extremely inefficient and inconvenient to have to empty your grease trap into a holding tank or into your septic tank and have it drained every week or 2 weeks. And so city staff is working to create viable sewer plans. It's a long and drawn out process, but it's something that we're planning to plan. We are planning to plan our possible future wastewater treatment plant. And with that, you think that's a decent segue?
Oh, that's great.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Anderson.
Did you get your license here recently?
No.
You did good.
Thank you.
There we go. Perfect. All right, good evening, everybody in the audience, Mayor, Council. I would like to just kind of expand on a few items that Chance did a great job of kind of bringing to the forefront here. Right at a year ago, a little over a year ago, you guys authorized us to move forward with the preparation of a permit for a discharge permit for a wastewater treatment plant. We told you it'd take about a year. We got our draft permit earlier this month, so it was right at a year. We were able to get that done on time and for the most part under budget. I think we went over by a few dollars, but we did a pretty good job. So here is a copy of the draft permit. We showed the location of the treatment plant discharge permit over at the backside of the ball fields over at Leone Park. This permit right now, you can see it doesn't have a date on it. Normally there would be a date right up here. This thing is pending a public meeting, not a public hearing, but a public meeting that has been requested by Mr. Hopper. Is he a state rep?
Yeah.
Correct? We had a public hearing that was conducted back in February for the permit, as mandated by the TCEQ. I showed up here, there was about 20 property owners, they all had pitchforks. But by the end of it, everybody felt good about what it was that I told them I would go away and do. And so I just want to kind of flash that up here real quick and then talk to everybody about the public meeting that we need to have and see if I can get everybody on the same page as far as that date, so we can get back to the state. So the state is prepared to issue this permit once we have held our public meeting as requested by the representative. And
We're waiting on getting some dates back from his staff.
okay, and we had told the property owners, the affected downstream property owners that were in the room, that we needed to go away and do some technical evaluation on the ask, which was, can you not send this effluent through our properties in an open ditch? So I'm getting there. I just I don't know how you maximize this for a view here. Okay, so there's the general layout of the facility at Leone Park. Package facility planned for the eastern half of the fields, showing our buffer easements and our required setbacks from the property lines. We also have to, as I mentioned, go through and engage the downstream property owners, which was all done during that public hearing process. This is a copy of the letter from Mr. Hopper requesting the meeting. I was looking forward to, or looking out, suggests that we just, from our perspective, just say, hey, let's have a meeting in 2 months. And just throw that back at them. Otherwise, this thing could string out for a while. I think they could probably plan around that date. So it's just my suggestion, but we need to continue, I guess, staying in touch with his folks and see if we can't get that set up. But we need to really get that back down to the state so they can see that we are making progress on that request. Okay. That 2 months would give us adequate time to get some information put together. So as promised at the meeting, this is Leone Park here on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see the discharge from the plant. The proposed plan as presented during the application process was to discharge the effluent from the chlorine contact chamber along the naturally occurring stream that is generally coursing across the page as shown in my green line. They asked from the property owners was, hey, is there any way you can not send this effluent down the native stream through my stock ponds? Could you pipe it? The answer is we could do anything with enough money. But we had to go away and make sure that we could gravity convey this effluent through a pipeline. So we went through and we looked at 2 different discharge points into the river. We've got one here, and then we've got one further downstream. Either of those locations would work. All of this was taken into account into the permit issuance and the modeling. Next step on this, prior to the public meeting with these property owners, would be for us to go through and do a little bit better job showing the property lines, identify the property owners, and then figure out what the cost of this component of the project would be. The treatment plant itself is probably a $5 million treatment plant. I don't want to estimate, but if you put a gun to my head right now, this probably adds another $1.5 million, $2 million to the project. So we'll go through, get that information ready, see if we can't get everyone to align themselves on a proposed solution, and then report back to the TCEQ, and then they'll hopefully issue us a draft permit with a date on it. That draft permit's good for about 5 years, I believe. The goal of this, the direction of the council was, hey, we're trying to get things set up, as Chance said, plan to plan, so that if and when there was a development that were to come into town that wanted or needed sewer service, that the town would have the necessary permits. This permit right here took a year. It cost about $50,000 for us to put the time into getting the permit. The next stage would be the design of the treatment facility itself, and then if we were to move forward with the effluent pipeline design, there would be easements from those affected property owners that would need to be obtained. So you're talking probably an 18-month process to get the project to a point where it would be considered shovel ready. So that was kind of the goal of the council and the direction given to us. So step one is more or less complete. We've got the draft permit ready to be issued, and we're ready to progress into the design. This is just a blow up here of the pipeline route, showing that we did take a high level look at conveying this effluent via pipeline. So how are we going to pay for this? The mayor asked us to look into Texas Water Development Board funding opportunities. They have a fund called the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. They think clean water sounds better than wastewater. I would agree with that. So this fund here is designated by the state to fund and implement sanitary sewer projects, most of them being wastewater treatment facilities. So what I had my guys do is put together some high-level high scoring items that we feel would be applicable to our project, right? And you can kind of see those. Those are on the left-hand side as the maximum points awarded by the state when they compare projects. The opportunity description talks about the different categories by which a project can get scored. So systems such as yours, where you have first-time sewer service, those tend to score pretty high, right? The state doesn't look too fondly upon small cluster systems or individual septic systems like what you all have. They would much rather have a regulated, centralized wastewater treatment system. And you heard Mr. Williford talk about the aquifer and the fact that everybody out here, for the most part, pulls water from the aquifer. It would make sense that we get our wastewater and do our best to clean that up through a modern treatment facility, and then get that water back into the natural conveyance. So what we've tried to do here is show that based on where you guys are at, what we're trying to accomplish with the project, that there appears to be about 246 points that could be scored if you were able to meet all the criteria as established for these different funding opportunities. And the only reason we put this together is to just show you that the intended use plan, which is the first step in obtaining funding from the Water Development Board, in 2025, the number one project, the highest ranking project, the one that got the highest on the list, there's a bucket of money. It changes every fiscal year, but the highest project on there, if it's 84 million and there's 275 million and you rank the highest, your project gets fully funded. And they just divvy out the funds until they're down at the bottom. So it's important for you to rank high on the project. It's important for us to figure out what the project costs, right? So that when you go apply for funding, those opportunities are available to you. So the number one project on the 2025 IUP scored 110 last year. This upcoming fiscal year, which projects are due the year before, scored 158. I'm not saying you guys could get 246 points, just saying each one of these opportunities, I feel like it would be worth applying for and listing our project under. There's different criteria that the state uses, basically from information that we provide them to, okay, of this 30 possible points, you may qualify for 20. You may qualify for 10 out of 40 here. Okay, so now you're down 30 from the possible 246. So that's 216. So everybody can understand this, right? This is just for your information. The mayor asked that I look into this. So what we've done here is we've determined that the cutoff for the fiscal year 26 IUP is March 6th. We can start applying as early as December. We have gone through this past year and done a bunch of work on the water side for the pump station project that Mr. Williford was talking about for the USDA. So we can take water projections, convert those to sewer pretty easily. We've got a lot of your recent billing information, et cetera, et cetera. We did when was that feasibility study?
The wastewater one?
Yes, ma'am. 2020, 2018. It's been a minute.
It's been a hot minute.
So we did a wastewater feasibility study 5 to 6 years ago after we put together the city's master plan. We looked at the cost of sending our sewer to Bridgeport. We looked at the cost of doing a plant here. We analyzed both alternatives. We didn't take it to Boyd because it's even further. It's twice as far, so that didn't make sense, right? So anyway, it was determined that construction of a package plant made the most sense unless a larger, more viable regional option became available, to which we have not seen one to date. But to answer the question, the submittal process opens up for the intended use plan for fiscal 27 funding in December. That deadline is March. And so we will have everything ready to go for when that opportunity opens up for us, okay? Part of what we'll do is when we get everything submitted, I'll come back with a presentation, an overview of the process so that everybody can see next steps and moving forward. Okay, I'm gonna have to,
I don't know how you did that.
I don't know. Chance, do you know how to get rid of this thing up here? Maybe just do this. I'll look at that, I figured it out. All right, I need to max this zoom out here. Control, scroll. Okay. So Chance did a really good job setting the stage for this. We're moving on to water. Is there any questions on sewer? I'm sorry. Any questions on sewer? I know that was a lot. They tell me to hurry up and get out of here though. Much
Well,
more.
there's a lot involved with just planning in the hopes that maybe one day you'll get to do it.
Well, we started in what, 2018?
I know.
So, you know, we've been working on it for a little bit. This is an aerial exhibit. I promise it doesn't have this white hole in it. We're catching up here. Chance laid out that Walnut Creek distribution system map. The orange line you see coming up Schoolhouse Road here is the Walnut Creek line that unloads water at the base of the water tower through a meter and a double check and a pressure reducing valve. From that point, that water turns and goes west out 3360 Sunflower, and then it heads up north to a large, I want to say large, 100+ lot residential development known as Honeysuckle Ranch. This project was platted back in 2020 through 2022, and they are under construction with this project. I want to point this out because this is the terminus point for the Walnut Creek system. So they have a big long dead end 8-inch water line trying to serve these folks here, as well as getting you guys that 300 gallons a minute that's Chance referenced as part of your wholesale agreement. And then here recently, the school went out and purchased this piece of property right here. And they're fixing to have two or three connections off of that Walnut Creek water line as well. And what I'm trying to set the stage for is that if you read your contract with Walnut Creek, and I actually have a copy of it here, it says, this is the old, I don't have the amendment, but it's okay. you're at 300 right now. If you read the fine print, that's the stuff in yellow. It says, we'll get it to you if we got it, but we're gonna take care of our retail customers first. Okay, you're a wholesale customer. There's 8,000 retail customers that they take care of. Wholesale customers are secondary in their business model. That's just the way they're set up, and that's entirely their right. So this goes back to the point of we really need to start moving forward with trying to get some storage on the ground here. There was a contractor that hit a water line during the construction of what we now call the Cedar Bend property that the city owns. And I don't know, it didn't take very long for that water tower to drain. An 8-inch water line flowing full can drain a water tower like that in a couple of hours. So just some numbers, not to bore everybody, but you guys used, processed, sold, accounted for 22 million gallons of water in 2024. That works out to about 60,000 gallons per day. I don't have my calculator, so I don't know, that's probably like 50 gallons a minute. If you divide that by 1440, you can get the answer. Your max day, so when we design a system, we design our system for the max day, which is everybody irrigating in at the end of July, and then we assume there's a fire somewhere, right? Because that would be worst case. Your system, it's been designed for max day plus fire flow. When the original components of the system were put in with the original grants and back in the late 90s, I guess it would be, folks were just happy to have running water. But now we've got developments in town, we've got insurance premiums, we've got the fire code that the town's adopted. So we're trying to move forward, and as the system expands, it is designed to a level that's generally acceptable for the area, and that would be a max day plus a fire flow. So I point this out to show you that during your max day events, which are typically 3 times your average day, that's all I did there is multiply that by 3, you're pulling about 126 gallons a minute through that water line. Now, by your contract, they only have to give you 300, and there's an actual meter or a flow restriction device in there that does that. But the reason we put together this exhibit here was to show you that right now, you know, I don't know exactly how many of these homes have been built based on the aerial that I had at the office that looked like maybe half of them. Those are large lots. I don't know what the price point of those are, if they have irrigation or whatever, but 100 houses during the summer can pull some water. That's also an additional area. If you had a fire out here, fire's probably gonna draw a higher response from those folks responding than something that's just out in somebody's pasture, right? So these are all things that have to be accounted for between that additional demand on their system, as well as water being pulled off of this 8-inch line before it even gets to you to serve the school. I don't know what it's gonna look like long-term for that connection with Walnut Creek with you guys. So why exactly is the dead end pipe a bad thing? Well, when you have flow from 2 directions, you can cut your velocities down and you have redundancy, plus you increase your flow, right? I made the assumptions. Yes, sir. So, and we're making the assumption that's the end of their line because they don't really have any mapping. Information that Mr. Williford pulled was probably from a state site, but we've been trying to figure out what exactly their system looks like and what their plans are for probably 10 years. I've seen a map in their office up on a board, but that's about it. So there may be plans for them to come in and loop their facilities. I don't know. The city has existing facilities that terminate right here by the church. This is the church that,
Well, it's
Church
looped in
Drive.
now.
sorry?
Remember, it's looped in now.
Well, it loops to the north, right?
Right.
System over there.
But, right.
So these are opportunities where we could say, hey, you know, for the benefit of everybody, maybe we connect our system with you guys here and we put another meter, right? That would make some sense, but they have to have the ability to get that water to you. And we can't tax their system because you can't just replace that water line if it's being fed by a undersized line further to the south, or they have pump station or ground storage tank needs that need to be dealt with. We're not aware of or familiar with enough on the operation of their system and what their plans are. So it's always good to provide for yourself when possible, okay? So Chance kind of got into the mechanics of it. What I tried to do is show you in a water tower. You've got your lower portion of the bowl, your head range. Your head range is typically between 25 and 30 feet. Your case, I think it's 28 feet. You have to keep a certain amount in that tank at all times so that you maintain your TCEQ required minimum pressure for operating the system. That's 20 during an emergency. It's 35 during normal operations, right? So the higher the elevation, the higher the pressure. So you always have some water in there that you really can't get out of the tank, right? So there's really not 150,000 gallons in there. There's like 90, right? So now we're talking about the yellow and the green, the top portion of your tank. That's used as a buffer between that max day amount that I told you about and your average day. You've got to buffer it. You know, your wholesale provider appreciates that. They would much rather give you the same amount for planning purposes and know that you guys have the facilities on your side to account for the peaks, whether that's peak hour or peak day, as well as the fire flow. So the middle of a tank we designate for fire flow. If you look at this, you're saying, okay, we've got about 50 or 60,000 gallons available for a peak. We need about 250. We've got about 50,000 gallons available for a fire flow. We need about 180. So when you take those two numbers and you add them up, you get about 300,000 gallons. The other thing that wasn't mentioned was this tank was built in 2004. It's a good tank. Recent inspections indicated that it doesn't have any immediate need for a full rehabilitation on the inside, which would necessitate this facility coming out of service. And you can't get a tank rehabbed in less than 6 weeks to 2 months fully, depending on the level and the condition on the interior. So unless you have other facilities available, you're solely relying on Walnut Creek. If somebody happens to be out installing fiber somewhere south of town and they hit that 8-inch line, then everybody's out of water, okay? So it can happen, we've seen it. The net result is you're short about 300,000 gallons of storage. The plan that, here's 300,000 gallon, here's a 300,000 gallon tank that we just bid last week in Ponder 2 weeks ago. It's about $700,000 for the tank. You got to remove about 8 feet of material underneath it, bring in flex base, build a foundation. You also have to have a pump station. So now you're taking water out of pressure, transmitting it into a tank via an air gap, and you got to be able to pump it out into the system. That excerpt that Chance showed you is basically here on the screen. So this 6.2, 6.3 acres that the town acquired a few years back. We looked at doing some roadway realignment. That's what you see in yellow through future right-of-way dedications. And then we looked at trying to carve out a piece that could be used to construct an interim pump station and ground tank, a potential water well, and then 2 future ground tanks. We had to locate this as close to the Walnut Creek facilities as possible to minimize our transmission line. So the result is the plan you see here. And so we've got enough here that we've been looking for funding opportunities, which is kind of the last thing I'd like to bring up on this. I mentioned the Clean Water State Revolving Fund for the Texas Water Development Board. There's also a Drinking Water State Revolving Fund with the same deadlines. And so what we'll do is we'll take the information that we put together for the USDA and we'll throw that in towards that. You all have had success with the Water Development Board on 2 previous projects through loan forgiveness. So we were hoping that, you know, you're probably not going to get $5 million of loan forgiveness for a sewer plant with you don't have the need for that. We couldn't keep a plant running of that size. So we were hoping we could at least get the money to get it shovel ready, so that a developer could come in and kick in the cost of the sewer plant. The water We're looking at, I don't know, $3.5 million all in on the project, most probably. And so any portion of that that could be designated as loan forgiveness would obviously not have to be reflected in rates or taxes or however else you all want to look at paying for these things. But that's what we've got ongoing. I know it's kind of been a long, drawn-out, protracted process, but we are making some progress. So Chance had asked that I'd come up here and visit with you about all this. So if there's any questions on water or sewer, you can let me know, or if not, I got one more little set of photos to show you real quick, and then I can get out of here.
So the next deadline for the drinking water is gonna be March.
Yes, ma'am.
I
So we would,
was hoping we'd make September.
well, the funding for 26 was cut off in March of 25. So we would be looking at 27, which cuts off in March of 26.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any other questions? We'll keep you apprised as we get a little bit further along. Just real quick, the council had asked that we move forward with some detention pond modifications at the two detention ponds, Reed Ranch and Old Town Estates. Those facilities, if you recall, were designed for the 100-year event, but we're not designed for a 2-year event. That's just what the county's ordinance for drainage required, and so that's what the developer did. So we went through and designed 2 inlet structure weirs that basically restrict these 30-inch diameter pipes down to a 18-inch opening, and this is a 2-foot tall wall. So those were completed. That's kind of a complete one right there. So basically that water, instead of sickling down through there, it's going to come through, and now it's going to be restricted. At some point, this opening will not be enough, and that pond will actually start functioning as a pond. The water will go over the weir that was laid out and designed on the screen there. So those 2 facilities were constructed. They were about $16,000 each, I believe, is what the total came to. A little bit of concrete cleanup work and some sod. So looking forward to seeing it rain, right?
Okay. We did get one little rainstorm shortly after those were finished, and I did go look, and water was being actually retained.
It was being detained, huh?
It was.
Well, there you
being
go, man.
Detained. It
Isn't
wasn't
that-
just shooting through there like water out of
Yeah.
a fire hose. So,
Anything else for me?
any questions? Okay, thanks, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Ma'am?
Please continue.
Moving on to our next item, we're getting into the zoning change requests. What I'm going to do now is go and give a quick review of the conversations that happened last month. After this brief is over, there will be a time for public comment. That will be the time for people to come up and say anything that they might want to say about these zoning requests. And then after the public comment ends, it'll transition to the actual discussion. And so I'm going to go into the brief now. There are 2 zoning changes that are being considered today. We had hearings for both of them last month. The first zoning request is the request from Mr. Brian Turner to change the zoning of an area where there is currently a sand plant. The request would change the area from its current zoning of agricultural to I-2, which is heavy industrial. In addition to the I-2 rezoning, there would be a specific use permit required in order to allow the specific use of mining/quarrying, withdrawing the sand from the property. The city has received letters of opposition from the neighbors of this property, and so this request will now require a supermajority to pass, if it is to pass. This is an overhead shot of the area. You can see this is the property being discussed. This is the sand plant that's within city limits. the city boundary, the edge of city limits runs north-south about where I'm drawing this line with the mouse. And so if this rezoning were to pass today, it would convert this property into industrial from this line west. This is the site plan that the property owner has presented. The blue is the buffer zone for natural growth to continue. The blue lines are roads. The red line is the sand plant. So I'll switch back and forth so people can see. Here is the current snapshot. Here is the proposed site plan. This is a look at how this property appears on the town's future land use plan. And so it's a little bit more abstract than the other ones, but you can see the properties, the edges of this property here align with the edges of the property being displayed on this map. On the town's future land use plan, this is listed as being a future site for single-family high density. It would be R1. R1 housing allows for development up to one house every quarter acre. However, with no sewer and the requirement for septic tanks, the realistic assessment, if there were no sewer, would be half-acre lots. That is the discussion that was the discussion last month for the Mr. Brian Turner's request. Do I have any questions from council about that request? If not, I will go on to the next item. This next item is for Windmill Ridge. So one thing I need to clarify before we begin talking about Windmill Ridge is that only the zoning is being discussed tonight. The area was annexed in 2020. Once it was annexed, there should have been a hearing to assign the property as R1. That was always the intent of the development plan for that property. However, there were administrative faults in the system at that time that were only discovered in this last year. And so it should have been listed R1. It never was officially zoned. Under the city ordinances, any annexed property that is not zoned automatically becomes temporarily agricultural. And so for 5 years, this property has been temporarily agricultural, but it has been built to standards of R1, and it was always intended to be R1. This zoning change has absolutely nothing to do with the property taxes. No decision that's made tonight will have any impact on property taxes. The only thing being decided tonight is whether to leave it temporarily agricultural or to rezone it to R1. Ma'am, do you have any input when it comes to rezoning for this, in this case?
Yes, you covered it, Chance, but as you all know, the state law and I'll also add the case law tells us that when, as many cities do, just like Paradise has done here, indicates that a property becomes temporarily agricultural when it's annexed into the city. It is intended to be a placeholder zoning because none of the legal requirements have been met to appropriately and properly zone the property. So like the public hearings and the notices and the public vote, things like that. So ag is not a designation that has been legally designated through that process. So it is the council's authority to properly zone this property, and we've got state law and case law, state statutes and case law that tell us that that is what is the intention, is that you go through those legal steps, and that's why there's that interim placeholder. It's to give the council time to take those steps. Maybe not this long, but there was always going to be some period of time where you'd have to give public notice and have these hearings. So it is not the intention behind the law, and case law tells us that it is not the intention of state law that any zoning remain interim or placeholder. So the council should take that into consideration and remember its duty to and its authority to zone property properly, like going through the process as you've done now.
As displayed before, these are the properties that would be affected by the rezoning. Does the council have any questions for me?
All right. Thank
With
you.
that, turn it over to you.
Go to citizens communication. So as a reminder, this is your time to participate. I have one card. Is there anybody? I have more cards. Will you please bring those up? Thank you. That was my question. If there were any additions. Okay. Also, as a reminder, anything that is not set on the agenda for deliberation, we cannot deliberate on. We cannot discuss. We can follow up with you on it. But we cannot get into deliberation on anything that's not publicly posted in our agenda. And I also will say that we have a 3-minute time limit. So with that, I'm gonna call up Mr. Vanderlinde. Did I do it right?
Yeah, you did
Oh,
great.
yes.
You know what, I think I'm gonna pass tonight, but I appreciate the offer.
Are you sure?
Yep.
All right. Then I will go on to the next card. Mr. Hickman. All right, and
I have two things I would like to speak about tonight. The first is the zoning of Windmill Trails. And I would ask the question to the city council as to why Wise County does not recognize Windmill Trails as being, or Windmill Ridge as being part of Paradise. The county does not recognize it. So that would be a question.
go ahead.
Sir, thank you for the question. And it is a fact that when you look at the county appraisal district's map, it does not show Windmill Ridge as being inside of city limits. That is true. I think that it's important to note that the county appraisal district is only one branch of the county. And there are other parts of the county that had full recognition of Windmill Ridge being annexed into the city. For example, when the county received the completed plats, the finalized plats for Phase 1 and Phase 2 of the Windmill Ridge development, the county clerk received those plats and stamped them with her stamp and acknowledged that those parcels of land had been transferred into the city limits. And so it's not completely accurate to say that the county as a whole did not recognize the annexation. In fact, the county as a whole did recognize the city's annexation. But the news of that annexation did not make it to the county appraisal district. And so, that's the reason why.
Okay, next question. The wastewater treatment plant that y'all are proposing in Leone Park, has anybody contacted the Leones to verify their acceptance of y'all utilizing that land for a waste treatment plant?
Yes.
The reason that y'all have?
Yes, we've actually spoken to them and walked with one of them out there and discussed what that could look like, and absolutely.
Oh, wow, that actually surprises me.
Yeah.
One more question on that.
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, because back in '04, I believe it was, the city council refused to answer the question. What happened to the trust money?
What trust money?
It was $35,000 in a trust.
On the agenda.
It's
Well, that is not on the agenda.
not on the agenda,
We
but
can-
it's still a question.
I can make note of it and then see.
There was $35,000 in a trust that when the Paradise became a city, that money disappeared. That money was set aside for maintenance and upkeep of those baseball fields.
Okay.
And the baseball commissioner and our president at that particular point in time was literally cussed out of the city council meeting. You ask how I know that? I was the baseball commissioner.
Well, this is gonna be one of us to do homework on.
And
You think it was around 2004?
3, 4, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Alright.
Plus, you were supposed to get back with me about the,
I know, that's my bad. But we actually do have, we went to the county clerk's office and I got all that paperwork and everything.
I would love to
We
see.
do have it. Okay, so will you do me a favor though, just so that we can do things right? Can you email the city secretary with the public information request
Okay.
regarding, all that paperwork? And then we can process it right and get it to you. But we did follow up and I did go get it.
I would love to see that.
Okay, so if you'll email her that, we can do that, okay?
Alright,
Alright,
thank you.
and you had 30 seconds to spare. Because I paused it, so while he was talking, I paused it for you. I know, okay, all right. Mr. Salerno, you're up next, sir.
I'm a little confused because Ms. Wilford said that this is only for the rezoning. So is there also an open time that you can speak to the board?
No, this is your time.
This is the open time and the time on that. So it's two different things, right?
No, this is the only time in this meeting to address the council.
I thought there was two separate times because I thought you could touch it. Okay,
No, sir.
then I'll just do that. That's fine. Not a big deal. I was just trying to figure out what was, because I do have questions about the annexation. I think your city administrator is probably well aware of my questions about the annexation. But anyways, I thank you for your time. I come here tonight, as a resident of Windmill Ridge and a citizen of Paradise proper, but I'm a little bit upset, I'm a little bit bewildered, and disappointed in what's going on with Windmill Ridge. There's many concerns that I could raise. After a public information request I received, there's even more questions. Because I think it reveals some clear violations in the annexation. The written service agreement, which by law must be in place before adoption of the annexation by the city, was notarized in March of 21 with Joseph Lamb's signature. The ordinance was passed in September of 2020, some 6 months later. The ordinance required the city secretary to file certified copies of ordinance and the new map with the Wise County Clerk and Appraisal District. This was done on July 17th, 2025. 5 years later, right before the July 28th meeting that we had. Even today, as Mr. Wilford let us know, the appraisal district does not recognize Windmill Ridge Estates as part of the city of Paradise. Residents have confirmed directly that with the county. Now, there may be something else. I asked for that information. I've yet to see the maps that were notarized by the county. That was not received to me by Public Information Act. Maybe it's the one that's with the Attorney General that you sent me to. I don't know what the request limit is on the Attorney General's response, but that's where I was sent. These are not minor clerical issues. These are serious failures of process and undermine the legality of the annexation itself. So let's go on a false assumption that the annexation was conducted properly and get beyond the legality part of it. The failures of the council go even deeper. For more than 4 years, the city failed to collect taxes on nearly 50 properties in Windmill Ridge Estates. Then suddenly, without any explanation, the lack of taxes was miraculously discovered. Probably the second greatest miracle since the birth of Christ. To this day, no one has explained why, when, or how this was found. That leaves citizens to wonder, was this sheer incompetence or was it a backroom deal between the city officials, developers, and builders? Was there a quiet agreement made not to assess taxes on that land until homes were built, giving developers and builders a free pass while shifting the burden later onto homeowners? What members of the council might have benefited from such an agreement? Realtors and builders were told residents that were not part of the city and would not owe city taxes. Legal loan documents showed no city taxes. Builders benefited, developers benefited, yet now the homeowners are left paying the price. Regardless of ongoing legal debates, one fact is beyond dispute: the council and the mayor failed in your most basic duties. You failed Windmill Ridge. You were negligent, you were derelict in your fiduciary responsibilities to the citizens, and you have broken the trust of the very people you're sworn to serve. If you cannot even manage the basic ability and responsibility of annexing land and collecting taxes, how can we trust you to move us to the future? How can we trust you on a new water tower? How can we trust you on a wastewater plant? There's a fox in this hen house. And the only recourse we have is to ask for your resignations for your dereliction of duty. And I'm calling for the resignations of the entire board and the mayor for dereliction of duty. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to enter in public comment? Like I said, this is the time. When we get past this time, there's no time.
Jennifer Hickman.
Jennifer Hickman, all right, thank you.
I don't understand how the rezoning does not have anything to do with our property taxes. I would like someone to explain that to me.
Would you like for me to do that, ma'am?
Absolutely.
So, the reason that they're completely separate is because the zoning is administered by the city, but the assessment of the properties is handled by the county. And so, when the property is annexed, certain documents are filed with the county. The plats are filed with the county, which were filed in the appropriate time back in 2020. And then there is supposed to be a letter that is delivered to the county appraisal district that says the boundaries of the city have changed. Now, back in 2020, the people who were there in the city hall at that time, who are no longer here, they delivered the one but not the other. They delivered the plats but not the letter. And so, having done what they thought was right, or having failed to do what they should have done, they went along their lives. Now, the city has come and discovered that the area was never incorporated into the tax rolls. However, if the city had rezoned Windmill Ridge back in 2020 into R1 the way it's supposed to be, Windmill Ridge still would not have been taxed. Because the city would have rezoned it. But just because the city rezones it does not mean that the county appraisal district is aware of the border change. Conversely, it could have happened that back in 2020, they could have notified the CAD that the borders had changed and y'all would have been taxed all these 5 years. But only now would we have discovered that you were never zoned. And then we would still be our responsibility to zone you. And so the fact that the area was not recognized by the appraisal district, and the fact that the area was never zoned, were discovered simultaneously when the mayor and I were conducting internal audits of our records and discovered it. And so it's only through that coincidence that both of these things are happening at the same time.
Okay.
And so what we're discussing today is the rezoning, and the taxation issue is a completely separate issue handled at the county level.
But these are city taxes we're talking about.
They are property taxes collected by the city. But the tax rolls themselves, there's like an attendance roll. There's a roll of properties maintained by the county. The county appraisal district examines and appraises every property and writes on the roll the value of the property. And that's where all the control is.
I'm
But the city still collects the taxes.
The county, really the state collects,
No, the city collects the
we
taxes.
receive the taxes. That's correct.
Y'all get the taxes.
It's dispersed through us through the CAD.
So on my closing documents, I'm 99% sure county tax is listed, but there is no city tax.
There is no city tax.
So how does the appraisal district not recognize this?
Well, I can't speak to your personal title.
I'm pretty sure everyone in Windmill Ridge has the same issue.
Well, even so, that's not really related to the question. So that is the explanation.
That was not in the city
That's what we
We
were
were
told.
not in the city. That's the only reason we bought the house, because I seriously do not want to be part of Paradise again. Because I know how corrupt y'all
I'm sorry,
are. Used to be.
sir,
I'll reject.
I've only been
Used to
here for
be.
2 years.
I'm sorry?
This is my end of my second year.
Okay, and.
Okay, and I do take
will
affront
say,
to what you said.
I know how corrupt it used to be.
No, I don't think it was corrupt. It was dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional, whatever.
Okay, dysfunctional.
There were no city taxes when we bought our house.
I'll accept the
Same thing with
correction.
everyone else in Windmill Ridge.
So, but, yeah, I didn't want to be a part of the city, seriously. And I would not have bought that house if it would have been part of this city. I think the dysfunctional part of this city is not good.
No, and we've worked really hard over the last few years to make improvements on internal processes and to find things like that and holes and things that fall through the cracks to better serve you. But this is one of those things that when it happened, it did. It fell through the cracks. It was missed. And no one up here would even know that it was missed or what was missed. We had to figure it out ourselves because we were surprised to hear that property taxes had never been assessed on Windmill Ridge. It was never argued that it was not inside city limits. We thought everything was already done. And then when we found out, surprise, surprise, hold on, it had never been on the tax roll since annexation. What happened? We had to figure out what happened and then work to fix it. But since that time, that was 2020, staff has changed, processes have changed. We have worked harder to make sure that we are getting rid of the dysfunction. And that's all we can do is when you know better, be better. So when we learn,
Why are we having to,
Why are we being punished
Yeah, being punished
for y'all being dysfunctional?
for the errors that were made? It seems like we're having to.
Just to be fair, no, I'm not part of Windmill. My house was built when the city was dysfunctional. My house is quite dysfunctional, and I was flat out lied to, so I get the pain. However, I would like everybody to remember, those are all people that are part of the city, and part of the dysfunction, and our volunteers, and our 2-year terms. The people that sold you your house are paid professional individuals that actually came to the city and had it annexed. So one would argue that they lied to you. Both face, in your face, legally, knowingly, educatingly, which is not right, lied to you. So you can yell at the volunteers that are trying to make things better. You can also go to the people who sold you your house and professionally lie to you. And I know that's hard and less of an option, because I go through it myself as somebody that has not the greatest paperwork on their house. But that's not the city's fault. In fact, Texas legal will tell you that it's between the homeowner and the builder.
Collecting the taxes is the city's responsibility, correct?
no, we actually don't collect
County.
it.
Okay,
The
let me-
county collects it and remits it based on the
If
tax
you're
roll.
doing your income statement or your P&Ls or whatever budget you do, you should be assuming that you have a 50-lot property back there, and you should have been receiving some taxes for that property for the last 4 years from the county.
That was the assumption, and we actually want to do
But how do
a
we-
better
how
audit
do
with
we
them and
wait
know what
4
else may be
years?
missed.
How do we wait 4 years not to know that? You were on the board. You've been on this board for a while. You, in fact, had to abstain from the planning and zoning vote in 2020 because of conflict of interest for Windmill Ridge Estates. Okay?
So that's a good question. How is it missed on the audit? And that's one of the things we're still pursuing is to get together with the CAD and make sure everything
Okay,
is properly recorded.
In defense of the builders, which I am not in defense of the builders, but I'll be in defense of the builders now. They bought land from Mr. Lamb, Drake Construction. They were not involved in a voluntary annexation from Drake giving it to the city. So they may have also been told by Mr. Lamb, whatever they were told, right? But all of us are kind of in a game of who's responsible for it. But the 50 lots that are being built there and the over 40 people that are there now should not be responsible for paying city taxes when they, in good faith, were told, and the county says it, and no one from the city stepped in for the last 4 years, right? Permits are being swept out to Windmill Ridge by the city to build homes. Nowhere did the city ever say, hey, wait, we better make sure we're collecting taxes there. Now, all these people that built these homes are going to get charged 0.34%, $1,500 to $1,600 a year, and that doesn't even include the INS tax that's coming that we talked about last city meeting on homes that we were told, right or wrong, that were not in the city of Paradise, and you will not be taxed, and even the legal loan documents say it. How can the city come back? And I still challenge the fact that it's not annexed property. They still have not showed me the documents. We don't have anything from the county except for 2025 that was filed with the county. The plat, I haven't seen the plat. Apparently that's proprietary information, I can't see it. We gotta wait for the Attorney General. So how can we even do any of this until the Attorney General rules? How can we say you're part of the city, we're gonna start collecting taxes, because we don't even know if we're legally annexed yet. We don't have that information. I got it all. We don't have that information. There's nothing to the county that says that we're legally annexed, because it wasn't done in time. And he's gonna tell me you had 2 years from the time we annexed you to protest it. There were no houses there those 2 years. There's no one to protest it. You also have certain time frames you have to have the written agreements and the two-year plans and all that, 30 days to file. None of that was done. So I think in a legal battle, we could be unannexed, disannexed, or whatever the friggin' word is, right? I don't think we're legally annexed. And I have not yet to see, and I'll let everybody look at my folder. I'll send you the email that the city secretary, thank you very much, I know that was a lot of work, sent me the information, but the most important information we need to prove the annexation is withheld. And a letter was sent to the Attorney General to see if it was legal for us to see that information.
All right, we're following proper procedure and waiting to hear back from the Attorney General.
So how long is that
Getting
going to take?
You want me
How long is that going to take?
Yes.
The Public Information Act. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Andrea Russell. I'm the city attorney. I'm hiding over here, not on purpose, but because last meeting I was confused with the city secretary, so I wanted to stay out of the way. Public Information Act process is incredibly frustrating. The Attorney General's office oversees that process. There are lots of rules and deadlines and timeframes for processing requests that the city gets from the public for records. This particular request, a colleague of mine helped work on it. The city made no request to the AG to withhold anything. The city has not asked the AG for permission to withhold anything from you. Those types of documents are just the category that have to go to the AG for the AG to inevitably send us something back that says, you can't make a copy of this because it could be copyright protected. So now you get to tell him he can come and look at it in person. And if he comes to look at it in person, you can't help him make copies. But if he takes his phone out and takes a picture, you really can't stop him. This is what we know is going to happen because that's the category of documents that it is.
That's fine.
The city does have the ability
How long are we
to
gonna wait for the Attorney
make.
General to come back and say that? What's the SLA on that?
Quick
What's
point
the-
is that the city can make arguments to the AG on certain types of documents to ask the AG, please let us withhold this from people. Don't make us release it. That is not what happened here. The AG has 45 days to respond to a request, but then they can also send us a letter that says they need more time.
Okay.
They are incredibly inconsistent in both their rulings and their timeframes, but that is what can set your expectation. You will get access to that information. It will probably be that you can come and look at it, and then we can't stop you from taking a picture with your phone, and we can't put it on our copy machine.
But so
If you
right
want
That's
to,
what's
those
happening.
documentation are also at the county clerk's office, and you can go there any day of the
Right.
week. They're open and look at the same document.
Right.
I'm not
Hope
sure.
you find it. The plats, and actually, yeah,
Okay.
they're all there. You can go see their records. They're very nice people. They'll be happy to help you
I'm
find
just
stuff.
saying that we're asking for trust. You're asking us, Mr. City Administrator, in your emails to me, that the city, all lawyers have said is annexed property. We're annexed property. You can't have an injunction on the vote. You can't do this because you're annexed property. You're asking us to trust you on that because we don't think we are.
I understand, and like I
Right.
said, all the.
But for 4 years, you asked us to trust that you were collecting taxes correctly for the city too, and you weren't. So why should we trust you now? So I think the vote on the rezoning should be postponed until the Attorney General or whoever releases those documents, and we can have proof. Get a legal team involved, a public hearing, whatever it takes to say, because we can't just have one side saying this, we're right when there's a contest. We got one side saying, we're right, y'all are wrong. Well, that's not public discourse. That's not how democracy works. We need two sides to come to an agreement that is right. Because we, at Windmill Ridge, the 50-some odd people that live there, do not think we were annexed property.
And with utilizing your verbiage, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, y'all were dysfunctional.
Yep.
And
It's taking that long. I mean, I got the certified documents that were done in the last month.
There's dysfunction in everything.
Well,
And sometimes there's huge mistakes. But we have, over time, started to identify things. And it's not, I don't know the county tax, but whenever I look at, the budgets that come in, we get a large amount. We don't get a breakdown of what houses paid what. We don't get that.
Well, I know, but wait a second.
Should we ask for it every year?
Wait a second. You've got 700 residents or something here, right? We know how many homes there are, right? We know what the value of those homes are, right? We know what we're supposed to be getting, right? 0.34% or whatever. If you're getting, I'm just making a number, I have no idea what the number is. If you're getting 5 million, right? But you've got 5.5 million in assessed property value, you should be saying, what the heck? Where's my other $500,000, county? Like for 4 years, we missed the collection of taxes. That's $120,000.
We've grown over time. In the 4 years, it would have grown from a small number because the small number of houses.
But you still should know how much you're.
I understand.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I
That's what I'm
agree.
saying. We need to get a complete audit from them to make sure
Well,
all
we
the
need to
properties
fire
are on
who's
the
ever in charge
rolls.
of making the budget, first of all, because they are the ones who missed their fiduciary responsibility. Who's ever in charge of organizing your budget in your county should be fired immediately. Period. End of story.
When there's damage, when I'm past 65, I'm on Social Security, right? And so I go down, I buy this house, I go down to the escrow office, they check everything, because that's why we have escrow.
Yeah.
To make sure, no city taxes. I go to the county, because that's who cuts the taxes. I've been there 3 times, 3 times they said no taxes. Now all of a sudden, oops, we made a mistake.
Well, the other
Now
part
I'm
of
gonna have to pay the money, right? Somebody has to be responsible for that. Somebody has to be responsible for that mistake. Just like if I told you folks, well, guess what? I made a mistake, you each owe me $500 a month.
I realize.
There's not-
The other part of it too is, why did every builder get the proper permits and inspections with Paradise if it wasn't in the city?
Well, what I'm telling you, when I went to the escrow
Hold on.
office, escrow protects
Gotta
me.
answer my question first.
I don't know that.
Exactly.
I don't know that. But what I'm saying to you, the reason I go to escrow, does anybody understand escrow? We go to escrow so we don't get misrepresented.
Yes.
And we did. In the escrow, not there, right? 3 times to the county. I went to the county 3 weeks ago. And she turned around for me and she said, look, open up the thing, it has all these cities. You're not in the city. So I don't know whose problem that is, but it cost me $1,500 to $2,000 a month.
That's what the FOIA is hoping to help we.
But your question about why is the city issuing permits? Because the city thinks we're part of it.
But why did the builders come here? We don't just blow permits out the front door and say, you get this, you get that, and they have to come here and apply for them.
Because there was probably a backdoor deal.
Well,
Where's this money at? I'm not getting any of it.
Maybe you're not part of it. Maybe you should ask. Maybe you need to ask those people where the backroom deal is.
Again, this is really not
yeah.
deliberation.
It's really going
That's
on.
fine. We're off that topic. I appreciate your listening.
thank you.
Yeah, all right. So at the risk of continuing, are there any other citizens who wish to address the council at this time? All right, hearing none, we will close citizen comment. All right. Consent agenda.
And moving on to consent, there were 2 items on consent. However, I'm going to ask you to remove item B. We were supposed to have a contract ready with the Wise County Elections Office. However, they just weren't able to get the contract together for today. So we will push that to the September meeting.
All right, so I need a motion to approve item A in the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve item A in the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve item A in the consent agenda. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Seconded.
And Mayor, I think you have,
Yes, getting into the deliberation agenda.
Ma'am, moving on to the deliberation agenda, the first item up for discussion.
Hold on a second.
I have to recuse myself due to conflict of interest for both zoning issues.
Okay,
I apologize.
no, thank you. Please continue.
There are 2 deliberation items. The first one that I bring before you is this item for the rezoning requested by Mr. Brian Turner to rezone that property from agricultural to I-2.
All right, so with the Cody needing to recuse himself, and this is the zoning request that has been petitioned, so it will require a unanimous vote of all 4 of you who are left to pass. Are there any questions, deliberation,
Question, TCEQ permit?
TCEQ permits?
Yes. Last time I looked, it was not, they didn't have one. And I know one of the residents had looked it up also,
Okay,
so that means that they're not operating. Of course, I don't know what the limits are, that, you know, they can do it for 6 months without it or whatever, but without that permit, are they operating legally even if they are within the proper zoning?
I don't know, that's a state thing.
The other thing is that I think there's kind of a loss of faith because they've been operating this long without the right zoning, having known that. So I'm gonna vote to deny this.
Is that, you'd like to make that motion to deny the rezoning?
Yeah.
All right, there's a motion to deny the rezoning request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to deny the rezoning request. So that's kind of favor. So all in favor of denying the zoning request? And that does pass unanimously. The zoning request is denied. Next.
The second item that's up for deliberation is the rezoning for the development known as Windmill Ridge from the temporary zoning of agricultural to R1.
Make a motion that we table this until the residents of Windmill Ridge get the necessary documents that they're searching for.
Okay, so with that
Attorney
motion,
General.
if that motion carries forward, do we need to restart the process, or will the public notice and hearings that we've had suffice just for
if you're
procedural?
if you're tabling to, say, the next meeting, you could open the public hearing and, well, there's no public hearing on this, but you could set it for a date and time certain. So you could say you're tabling it to whatever the next meeting date is at that certain time, and we don't have to renotice it. But we can't just put it on the table indefinitely without having to renotice.
So would you like to amend your motion?
This lady says right
Well, you're gonna have to be maybe a little bit more specific.
meeting.
Uh,
When is the next
yeah,
meeting?
what's the next meeting?
The
date?
next regular meeting will be the 22nd of September.
At 6 o'clock, presumably.
It's the only right thing to do, in my opinion, give them enough
So that,
what they're looking for, and then we can look a little bit more. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. Obviously, they're upset with the 2020 members of this board and mayor or whoever else, or whoever was supposed to do what they didn't do.
so you want to table this vote until our September 22nd, 22nd or 26th?
22nd.
22nd meeting at 6 o'clock. And that is your motion. All right,
Second.
there's a second, there is a second, all in favor? And are you gonna vote on that? All right, in favor? In favor, all right, so that does pass unanimously. More time for the AG to do the job. All right. So, Mr. Williford, having completed all the business there is on this agenda, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Mr. Hickman, don't forget to send that email so we can get this done.